Greetings, greetings. So I am very filthy right now. I'm working on a huge project in the studio and I didn't feel like throwing on any nice clothes to do this video. I just wanted to do a rant. I just got to get this off my chest. I just got to say this. So there's different types of people. There are different types of people, okay? So there are some people who learn fast, there are some people who learn slow, there are some people who like it exciting, and there are some people who like it to where, okay, today we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And my biggest issue with a lot of uh, a lot of institutions of art or so-called institutions of learning where you're supposed to learn art. And this could be private facilities. This could be a facility where maybe there's an art studio in your local area, or this could be an art college or a high school. It doesn't really matter. An after school art program doesn't really matter. My biggest issue is that we have this blanket approach to art. And, you know, so let me break it down. So here's what I think happened to most people. This is the horror, the trauma, the bad thing that happened to most people when it comes to art, because I believe that everybody can do art. I believe everybody can draw, everybody can paint. As long as you have the physical dexterity to do it, you can do it. And really, technically, art, on one hand, we say art is subjective, but then on the other hand, we say there's a right and a wrong way to do it. Which is it? You know what I'm saying? And so, I have so many thoughts in my head. I'm trying to get them out real quick. But this is what I really want to say is that academia, the academic approach to teaching art, has ruined the art experience for a lot of people. Now, a lot of people say, I don't have time to do art. Or, I want to do some painting. I just haven't got into it. And you know why? It's because a lot of times people have these preconceived ideas of how well the art should look, after they finish doing their artwork. Like it needs to look a certain way. I I want you to get this. If you're a teacher or if you're a person trying to learn to do art, whether it's drawing, painting, sculpture, it doesn't matter. There has been an academic paradigm of teaching art in the world, not just in America, but in the world, right? And that is to say, I'd say when we were 1 to 3 years old, we would grab a crayon and we would go crazy on the paper, right? We would just and we would create really beautiful art. Honestly, I think Picasso and myself and a lot of other people think that child art is some of the best art. Why? Because it's innocent. There were no rules. The only reason that child did it is because the child wanted to feel good. The child wanted to have a good experience doing art, right? And the child didn't even know the concept of art. The child just said, hey, wow, and I put this on a paper, something happens. I'm curious to see what happens. That curiosity has been removed from art through the academic approach to teaching art. What do I mean? Meaning that most of us, when we go to a blank piece of paper, we expect that paper to look great by the end of the work. And that's the huge problem. And so if we say, I'm going to draw a person, right? I'm going to draw my cousin. My cousin is sitting here. If that drawing doesn't look like a lot of the drawings we've seen in museums and in art books and things like that, then we think it's a failed work. We don't go into it curious like that little kid. The little kid doesn't know what they're going to do. They just know they're going to put the crayon on the paper. They're going to feel the crayon rubbing against the texture of the paper, and they're going to have fun with the experience. That part has been removed from art, and now we go into it with the same idea that we go to Google. When I type in this query, Google's going to give me an answer. And that answer should look similar to what I was asking, right? Well, when we do art, why are we not curious anymore? We don't know what we have this idea of what should happen on the paper. And when it doesn't happen like that, or on the canvas or on the sculpture, when it doesn't come out looking like that, we get frustrated and we say, oh, it doesn't look right. We might not say this outwardly, but we say this to ourselves. I've actually seen people frustrated with their art. You shouldn't get frustrated with doing art. Now, if you're paid to do art, right? If you're paid to do something, there is a right way, right and a wrong way to do it. If the aesthetic, the look of that art has been agreed upon ahead of time. So there are artists who have really zany styles like Ralph Steadman. When I say zany, I mean zany in like a really wild style. Ralph Steadman, Ashley Wood, Egon Sheely, but getting more back to professional artists. These artists draw in a different way than most academic structural type drawing. In other words, their work doesn't look so realistic. It's not so objective, right? And many people, when they hire these people, they know that they're going to get that style. So there's really no right or wrong way for that person to do that project. That a person like Ralph Steadman or Ashley Wood, there's no right or wrong way for them to do a project if paid to do a project. Why? Because the client understands that they're going to get their style of drawing. Well, like most video game companies, or if you're hired to do something for maybe a live action film, like a concept work, you're tasked to design the next Star Destroyer in the next Star Wars film, right? That it has to look like it would function in the real world. It has to have certain types of angles, and it has to be realistic and believable to the average person. So it needs to be drawn in a certain way. It needs to be drawn with proper perspective, proportion, and structure, right? That is when you can do it right and wrong, right? When you're hired to do something that's representational, it needs to look a certain way. So there is a right or wrong way to do it. But when we're doing art, when you're in your sketchbook, when you're on your personal canvas that you bought from the art store, or even when you go to an art class that not like an art college. If you're going to an art college for industrial design, that's different. But if you're going for fine art, a lot of times these teachers teach you that there's a right and a wrong way to draw and paint things. And that is what happened to most people. And that's why most people don't do art. And the people who do art, that's why a lot of people procrastinate and say, oh, I don't have time to do art. It's not that you don't have time to do art. It's that you're afraid of not producing the result that you have in your mind when you go to do art, because you've been trained into the right and the wrong way. Give you an example. I'll take you to the core of where this happened. Between 3 and 5 years old, when we have a grade school teacher, and that teacher teaches all subjects. This is where the problem happens, right? They teach math, science, or whatever subjects are taught in elementary. They teach all these subjects, including in most cases the art. Not all schools have a separate art teacher that come in. Most of the times it's that art teacher, they look up, some art project somewhere, and bless their hearts, I'm not crumbing on them. They're doing the best they can, but they're tasked to teach all of these things, and they're tasked to teach art, but they're not an artist, right? And so they take an academic approach to teaching art. So they say, okay, class, we're going to draw a star. And then you draw a star. We're going to draw a happy face in that star. And then one kid draws a circle instead of star. And then the teacher says, no, we're drawing star. That's not the right way to draw a star. That's where the problem starts, is because you have some kids who just think differently. I don't want to draw a star right now. I thought the whole concept of me having this crayon and paper was for me to do what I wanted on my paper, and that's what it should be. But even when it's art time, these kids aren't allowed to do what they want. They have to do what the teacher told them to do. Again, I'm not crumbing on the teacher. I'm not crumbing on the teacher. I really feel for these teachers, but they don't even know what they're doing to these kids at a young age. So it's not their fault. It's just kind of like the structure of the way things are when it comes to art. Honestly, with little kids, what should happen is you give them a paper and let them do whatever they want. So because most of us were told there's a right and a wrong way to draw a star or a circle or whatever, because we wanted to just get on the paper and just go whatever. I just want to scribble. I just want to whatever I want to do. We weren't given that opportunity, and that's supposed to be a free space of time to do whatever you want to do. Kind of like your journal. Imagine someone's teaching you how to journal, but they're telling you the subjects to journal. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of journaling class is that, right? You're supposed to be able to write whatever you want in your journal. So I just wanted to say that, I wanted to get this out because I want many of you, whether you're a teacher or whether you're a person who really wants to do art, you just haven't been doing it and can't find the time, can't find the interest in the world. Everything is speeding up. There's so much going on in the world, and I just can't find the headspace to do art. Well, there's a number of factors involved in that. It's not just what's going on in the world. It's not just finding the time. Sometimes a lot of it is our concept of what it should be when we do it. I should have at least 2 hours to do it. I should have a really nice sketchbook. I should have the right paintbrush, the right pen, the one the guy talked about in the YouTube video or my teacher said, and I need to be able to know how to draw ahead, from this point of view, and I need to know how to do. And when you have all of this stuff involved in your concept of creating art, each of those little mandates are going to push you further and further away from doing it. And eventually you don't do it and you blame it on, I can't find the time. No, there's a lot of things wrapped up in this. And oftentimes it's our expectations of what we're going to produce when we go to create art. So I just wanted to really just put this out here. And for teachers, okay, so now for the teachers, knowing this, when you go back to teach art, start thinking about how you can start taking a different approach. Obviously, you're not just going to go into your class and just say, hey, everybody can do whatever they want. But there is like a middle ground because the way I learned this, the way I came across this was from teaching a number of classes over 25 years. I taught adults all the way down to little kids. And I even found that adults, most of the class would be doing what I instructed them to do, but then I would have at least maybe one person in the class and they're just kind of doing what they want to do. And then I would kind of bug them like, yeah, maybe you should do it this way. This is the way I was showing everybody else. And they'd be like, I get you. Okay. And then they'd go back to doing it their way. And then over time, I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? This person is doing actually the right way to do it, which is they're doing what they want to do. Okay. So as teachers, so the first part I'm talking to both teachers and people who want to do art and people who want to learn art. But particularly teachers, I want you to, or not I want you, but try to think of a way that we can start moving in the direction of changing this paradigm of how we administer art lessons, art sessions, right? Because now I'm starting to call them art sessions rather than art lessons, because I always tell my students, I'm going to give you some recommendations. Instead of saying, I'm going to teach you this, I'm going to teach you that, I'm going to give you some recommendations. You know what I mean? And the ones that stick and resonate with you, great. And the ones that don't feel compelled to do them. You know what I mean? A lot of you already do this, but yeah, that was my rant for today. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Again, I'm like filthy right now. I've been working on this project, but the shirt is even sweaty, but I just really wanted to get this off my chest to really start getting this information out into the world. And I hope it broadens and spreads to a lot of people, because art should be fun and everybody should want to do it. Well, not everybody should want to do it, but everybody who wants to do it shouldn't feel any kind of strain or any kind of heaviness around it. And that is the issue with a lot of when we go to do art. It's not the time, it's not all these other things that we put on it. A lot of times there's just a lot of pressure around what's going to come out of that art session. So let me know in the comments what you think about this topic, and I'll see you in the next one.